If your wardrobe looks good, but it still feels wrong, this is exactly where the problem begins. Most women do not actually struggle with style. They struggle with decisions. From the outside, everything seems right. The wardrobe is full, the pieces are considered, and yet something is still off. You stand in front of your clothes and you feel a bit disconnected. The looks you create are acceptable, sometimes even good, but they are not memorable, so they are not yours. This gap does not come from the lack of effort. It comes from inconsistency at a deeper level. When your wardrobe feels inconsistent, it's not the wardrobe itself that is failing actually. It is your identity that has not been clearly defined. Over time, constant exposure to trends, aesthetics, and endless inspiration creates overstimulation. What starts as curiosity turns into a hectic project for you. And what follows is naturally confusion. So you begin to collect without direction. Try to adapt to everything instead of selecting what actually belongs to you. So before anything else, it is important to understand this one clearly. You're not missing pieces. You're missing a system. And without a system, even the most beautiful wardrobe will never feel complete. One of the first mistakes happens in the way actually quality is understood. Many assume that investing in a wardrobe means buying just expensive items. Price becomes the shortcut to reassurance, but price alone does not define anything here. What actually matters is the construction of the garment. Fabric composition is the foundation. The way fabric behaves on the body, how it moves, how it actually goes with other fabrics. These are the elements that define presence. Tailoring is equally important. A well-constructed piece creates a structure. It supports your posture, it sharpens the silhouette, and without this, even the most expensive item can feel so weak and so unconvincing. The second issue is the constant flow of inspiration. You find inspiration literally everywhere these days. You are exposed to too much, too quickly. Every day, there's a new aesthetic, a new direction, a new set of rules. So you see something, you like it, you want to try it, you even go to try it and recreate it. But liking something does not mean it belongs to you. So just copying aesthetics without understanding them leads to temporary satisfaction. You wear the piece once, maybe twice, and then it disappears into your wardrobe. This is not because this item is wrong by itself. It is because the decision behind it was not actually yours. So at the end, you don't really feel the connection between yourself and the clothes. There are rules in fashion, but there are also rules that should not be followed blindly. The culture of trying everything creates lack of discipline for almost everyone these days. And this is exactly where the most wardrobes lose their strength. Not because they lack beauty, but because they lack coherence. To correct this, you need to shift your approach. So, instead of building around individual pieces, you build around the structure. Silhouettes come first. Before thinking about what to buy, you define the shapes that work for you. How do your clothes frame your body? How do they affect your posture? How do you want to sit? How do you want to walk? What lines create strength, elegance, or ease, and just for you? Once the silhouette is defined, then you choose the pieces that fit into that structure. And this changes everything because now every addition has a purpose. Without this step, you are simply just collecting items, and at the end, you find yourself lost in your wardrobe. But with it, you are building a system that works very well for you. Another important layer is understanding that not all traditional rules of fashion are actually relevant anymore. You have heard them before, like certain colors must go together, certain combinations are considered correct. While these rules exist and they are important, but they are not the priority. What matters more is whether the choices you make align with your visual language or not. And just following the rules without questioning them often leads to safe but forgettable results. And you don't want it. You are not building a uniform. You are building a presence here. Shopping based on your physical reality is also pretty much essential. Skin tone, proportions, and natural features play a defining role in how a garment translates on you. Or a silhouette that looks effortlessly on another body type may disrupt your proportions. These are not small details. They are fundamental. Ignoring them leads to constant dissatisfaction. Even when the pieces themselves are pretty much well chosen, it doesn't actually go anywhere. But even beyond that, the most important layer is personal context. You're not just a body wearing clothes. You're a person with a specific life, your routine, your responsibilities, your environment, all of this together influence what works the best for you. Because two people can appear similar in many ways, yet the wardrobes should not be identical. A small difference in lifestyle can completely shift what feels right. This is why defining your base identity matters so much here. This identity is not a mood or a vague aesthetic. It is not something you collect from images. It is a decision. You choose what you want to express. Is it power? Is it femininity? You choose what you want to express. It is important because once you define this, you begin to understand how materials, shapes, and details support that direction. Different fabrics carry different meanings. They create different impressions. Some bring sharpness, others softness, and these choices are not random. They shape how you're perceived. So at this stage, everything becomes more intentional. You're no longer asking what is trending. You're asking what aligns with my personality and style. This is where clarity begins to replace confusion little by little and help you to actually elevate your look. To make this practical, you need to reduce your visual language. This is where most people resist, like I did before. But it is also where transformation happens for you. So limit your colors. Choose 2 or 3 that consistently appear in your wardrobe. This small change will affect your whole style a lot in long term. And this should actually work together effortlessly and support your overall presence. When your colors are aligned, getting dressed becomes much more easier for you. And your looks become more cohesive because whenever you are in front of your wardrobe, you're not thinking too much what goes with which because the choices are actually easily there. Limit your shapes. Identify the silhouettes that define your wardrobe. These are the lines that flatter your body and support your identity. So choose them very carefully. Limit your textures, materials. They carry weight. And by narrowing your selection to a few consistent textures, you create depth without chaos. It is so easy. It's recognition. It is what allows others to remember you. And when your wardrobe speaks the same language consistently, it becomes clear. And clarity is what turns a good wardrobe into a strong one. Another layer that disrupts a wardrobe is the reliance on outdated style rules. You have heard them repeatedly over and over again. Certain colors must always go together. Certain combinations are considered safe. Correct. These rules were created in a different context. When fashion was more limited and the access to a lot of choices actually were not really possible for people, and the information was not that much out there, and personal expression was not really a thing for people. It was just a secondary to conformity. These rules just work for back then. Today, these rules still circulate, yes, but they are no longer the foundation of a strong wardrobe. Yes, I know for sure some color combinations are naturally harmonious. And yes, there are visual balances that tend to work every time and they are very safe. But none of this really matters if the choices you make are not filtered through your own system. When you rely on generic rules, you are actually removing yourself from the process. And that is what your brain loves the most. You follow instead of defining and taking a lot of time to decide, but your wardrobe feels correct, okay, but not really personal. And that is why it feels so off to you. So this is where unfiltered trend consumption becomes a problem. Trends are not our enemy. They are information. They reflect cultural shifts, aesthetic movements, and changes in how people want to present themselves. But the problem actually begins when trends are consumed without any selection. And when everything is considered relevant, nothing is truly chosen. You know what I mean? So you move from one idea to another. And imagine how your wardrobe will look like in 10 years. You never adjust and you never stabilize. So this creates visual inconsistency. Your wardrobe becomes a mix of references that do not communicate clearly together. And to correct this, you need to introduce control, not by rejecting the trends, no, but by filtering them. Knowing what exists is so easy. Choosing what to keep is what defines your style here. Another essential element is shopping for your body, your skin tone, your proportions, and they are not superficial details. It is very structural because color interacts directly with your complexion. It can enhance your features or totally ruin everything. A tone that is too cold or too warm can shift the entire impression of your look. This is why certain colors feel so effortless on you. While you try something and you never seem happy in them, they don't actually work for you. No matter how well they are styled, they're not gonna work. So don't waste your time there. And proportion. It works in the same way. The length of a jacket, the rise of a trouser, the placement of a waistline, even a pocket. All of these details affect how your style will look, how your body is perceived actually. When the proportions are fully aligned, the look feels balanced and intentional. When they are not, even the most carefully selected pieces can feel awkward and they're not gonna work for you. Don't waste your money. Once you understand what works for your body, you stop guessing and you start to collect more intentionally. And beyond all of these, there is one final point that defines everything. You need to shop for yourself, for who you actually are, but it is rarely practiced. People often build wardrobes based on inspirations without grounding them in reality. The result is a collection of pieces that represents a life that has nothing to do with them, a life that they do not live. Even small differences matter here a lot. Two individuals can appear almost identical on paper, the same age or the same job, the same profession, similar tastes and preferences, but a single difference in lifestyle can change totally everything. The way you move through your day, your responsibilities, your environments, all of these matter a lot. So ignoring this leads to constant friction between you and your clothes. And this is why defining your base identity is not optional. It is the starting point, and it is very important to be precise here. Identity is not vague. It's not a vague mood. It is not a collection of images saved for inspiration. It is a clear decision about what you want to express as a person. You begin to understand how materials contribute to that identity. As I said earlier, different fabrics can create different effects. They carry different associations. A structured material can create sharpness and authority, while a softer fabric can introduce fluidity and ease. Others feel very classic and a bit distant, and these are not random impressions. They are consistent visual signals, and you can use this to your advantage. If you prefer dresses but want to elevate them, the solution is not to abandon them. It is to refine them and choose better fabrics. Pay attention to how they move and how they hold their shape, and adjust the details until they align with the level of sophistication you want. Not by replacing everything, but by upgrading the elements that matter. So at this point, it becomes clear that refining a wardrobe is not only about adding or totally changing or dramatical movements. No, it's about removing, but very intentionally. And this is often the most difficult part. There are pieces you keep because they are almost right. Pieces you plan to wear one day when the moment feels appropriate. Pieces that you hesitate to let go because they represent an idea you once had. But if they have not been worn, they're just taking a space. Remove the random trendy pieces that no longer align, and remove items that weaken your posture or dilute your presence. And this is the moment of your life that you need to be really precise about your clothes. Every piece should have a clear role. If it does not, it should not be there. And what remains after this process is clarity. And clarity is what defines memorable style, because you are openly communicating to people and yourself. If you even pay attention, the people who are consistently recognized for their appearance or their style, they are just normal people who have clear idea of who they are, and they communicate it perfectly with their clothes. So to make this practical, you can reduce everything to a simple system. When you are building an outfit, or even when you are shopping, think in just 3 steps. Start with one silhouette base. This is the foundation of your look. It defines the overall structure and proportion. Then add one power piece. This is the element that brings focus and strength. It could be a jacket, a pair of shoes, or a statement accessory, whatever you like. Finally, include one signature detail. And this one is the element that makes the look absolutely yours. It could be a specific texture, a consistent accessory, or a small but recognizable feature, whatever you want again. And you repeat it across outfits, not in an identical way, but within the same language. And this repetition, little by little, creates the identity. It allows others to recognize your style without any effort. One thing you can do is that looking at your past outfits and find the answer. When you review what you have worn over time, you see the patterns. Patterns appear, and certain pieces repeat. And so why? Is because you are keeping what works and removing what does not. And when you decide to explore something new, you do it with a lot of more intention here because you already have the base. So you try it once, you evaluate it, and then you can decide how it goes for you. If they integrate into your system, it's a yes. If it does not, you just can't let them go. This is how a wardrobe becomes so coherent, not through accumulation and shopping and just following everything, but through selection and having a system, as I said. If it sparks something in you, you already know where it goes. In the meantime, watch the next episode.